If you spend any time online, you've likely seen dopamine labeled as pleasure juice, the quick hit of satisfaction triggered by a social media notification or a sugary snack. In reality, this chemical performs a function far more utilitarian than simply making you feel good. Biologically, dopamine functions as a mechanism for motivation. It is the signal that helps your brain decide what is rewarding and drives you to repeat those specific actions. This diagram shows a synapse gap, the microscopic space between nerve cells. Within the brain, dopamine acts as a neurotransmitter, jumping across these gaps to signal which external events are worth our attention. Dopamine also operates as a hormone, moving through the bloodstream to regulate vital physical processes in the organs. Understanding how this molecule manages both behavioral motivation in our heads and physiological survival in our bodies is the first step toward understanding our daily behavior. When your brain's chemistry is balanced, dopamine creates a reward loop. You achieve a goal, and the resulting chemical release reinforces that productive behavior for next time. Much of this process originates in the substantia nigra, a production center deep inside the brain that manufactures the chemical for distribution. When this production center overproduces, the entire equilibrium breaks down, flooding the brain with intense, continuous signals. This excess translates into physical restlessness. Instead of steady drive, a person may experience heightened impulsivity, irritability, and severe anxiety. Clinicians observe these chemical spikes in complex neurological conditions. In ADHD, focus is heavily disrupted, while in disorders like schizophrenia, the brain's ability to process reality becomes distorted by excessive signaling in certain areas. If those levels drop too low, the exact opposite occurs. Without enough dopamine crossing the synapses, motivation evaporates, leaving behind profound chronic fatigue. This severe deficit is a recognized factor in clinical depression, where the biological machinery for generating enthusiasm or satisfaction effectively shuts down. During a clinical evaluation, doctors look for the physical fallout of this chemical depletion. If the dopamine-producing cells in the substantia nigra physically die off, it causes Parkinson's disease, systematically dismantling a person's motor control and coordination. Emotional stability and physical coordination are not results of willpower alone. They depend on maintaining this fragile chemical balance. In an intensive care unit, a patient's mood is a secondary concern. Here, doctors rely on dopamine for its macro-level physical effects. For decades, medical teams have administered intravenous dopamine as a frontline defense for patients in severe medical shock, specifically to stabilize the circulatory system. This diagram illustrates how the hormone acts in the bloodstream. Introduced at high doses, it rapidly constricts blood vessels to raise crashing blood pressure. This vascular constriction supports a failing heart, providing systemic resistance necessary for the cardiac muscles to maintain regulated pumping rhythms. A chemical that reinforces basic phone scrolling behavior is simultaneously a critical tool for preventing total circulatory collapse. Because this chemical has such a broad physiological reach, persistent drops in mood or chronic fatigue require a professional medical evaluation, not just lifestyle changes. However, for general well-being, we can naturally support our baseline dopamine levels through specific daily choices. The body requires raw materials to manufacture this chemical. Eating a protein-rich breakfast, including eggs, dairy, or almonds, provides tyrosine, its molecular building block. Pairing that nutrition with immediate exposure to natural sunlight signals the brain to begin its daily production cycle. Engaging in physical exercise and achieving small, concrete goals further reinforces this cycle, providing the momentum needed for larger tasks. Protecting this chemical reserve requires avoiding digital overload and committing to a strict sleep schedule. Deep, uninterrupted rest is the only way the brain can effectively replenish its supply. By fueling our bodies correctly and respecting this chemical's physiological reach, we gain better influence over the biological systems that dictate our drive and our health.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like this video and share it with your friends. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.